topic is stroke and EMS. My name is Katherine Johnson, and I'm the EMS coordinator for the stroke program. I come to MDH with over 15 years of experience in EMS with a primary focus in rural agencies. Please don't forget to mute your lines, and we'll get this started. On the agenda today, first, we'd love to know who's listening and where you're listening to us from. So please click on the chat, select everyone, type in your hospital name and who's listening on your end. If there's multiple people, please don't hit return, just click on send. After we hear from everybody, we'll cover our topic for today, which is working with EMS and what our efforts are here at MDH. That's also, the chat box is also a place to ask questions if you have any, so please feel free to type any questions during the webinar itself. And while we wait for everybody to tell us who you are and where you're from, let me remind you that this is our new webinar series that we're doing monthly, each month with a new topic. As you can see, EMS was scheduled to be covered in September, but due to a scheduling issue this month, we needed to move program updates to September, so stay tuned for those. If you need to save the date for this webinar series, please email health.stroke@state.mn.us, and we will get one out to you. We have all the replies? Awesome, thanks everybody. I see Donna Lindsay and Stan Sadenwasser, Elizabeth Holt. Awesome, thank you all for joining. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get into our topic for today. So why is it important that you work with your local EMS agencies when it comes to stroke? Well, in 2015 alone, at least 5,375 stroke cases arrived at Minnesota hospitals via EMS. This is 911 transports and emergency transfers. This number comes from our data set here at MDH through a linked stroke EMS data set we've created to track care of a stroke patient from beginning to end of their emergent stroke illness. And actually this picture that you see there is actually from when I used to work on an ambulance service up in northern Minnesota. This is sunset with the garage doors open. Always a good scene that they're sitting there and not out on a call. So why work with EMS? As we know, the stroke chain of survival works like this. Your bystander's family should recognize the stroke symptoms, call 911, and EMS should arrive and assess a patient for a stroke. If they feel that their patient is having a stroke, they are key to activating your system in a timely manner so that you can get your stroke code team activated early. Allowing EMS the capability to activate your stroke team allows them to feel like part of the team and can decrease your time to treatment. We have at least one study that shows that pre-notification of hospitals by EMS reduced the door-to-CT times by 6 minutes, and that's just one study. And as we all know, time is brain. So what are we doing here at MDH to help promote stroke hospital EMS relationships? Our biggest initiative is we started on Friday. We launched an initiative called the Time Critical Response Initiative. We call it TCRI for short. A large mailing has been sent out to every EMS manager in the state. Our goal is to partner with EMS agencies statewide. Participation is very simple. EMS agencies simply send back a participation form along with a copy of their time critical protocols. Those include stroke, trauma, STEMI, and cardiac arrest. And they are considered a TCRI EMS agency, just as simple as that. Protocols are then reviewed and feedback is given, both good and suggestions for improvement if necessary. Any significant issues will be reviewed by the Medical Director Advisory Committee, also known as the MDSAC, which is a committee on the Emergency Medical Services Regulatory Board. We are also planning to send out a small report of their data back to them so they can see their performance based on data that's located inside MinStar, which is where they submit all their EMS data. Agencies will also be encouraged to work with their local hospitals on pre-notification and hopefully a feedback mechanism for them about the patients that they transport to your hospital. Another exciting project we have going on is specifically in the rural regions of the state is the simulation training program. Last year, each of the rural regional directors were given a Laerdal SimMan ALS mannequin to use for training in their region. You can see this SimMan pictured sitting on the floor, the very stiff one sitting there. This summer's training has begun for each region's educators through a partnership with Health Partners Simulation. The team at Health Partners is educating the participants how to integrate SimMan and simulation into their trainings effectively and how to be as realistic as possible in trainings. They have 2 more trainings to go. One will be in the fall/winter of this year, and one will be roughly in the spring of next year. Our hope is eventually to have some trainings that go from the scene of the call to the hospital, and so that stroke care can be assessed both on the EMS and the hospital sides, and that improvements can be made and corrected on both sides. This is a picture from our training actually up in St. Cloud. We've done it in 5 of the 7 regions. We have 2 more regions to go. They should be done with their first training by the middle of September. It's been going very well. So the last couple of slides I have, and we're moving pretty quickly here, are a couple of great resources that we have available to EMS agencies. So if you work with an EMS agency closely, please feel free to share this information with them. We've tried to make it as known as possible as well. The first one is an online training that we have available for EMS providers. It is a refresher course on stroke and follows the progression of a stroke patient from anatomy and physiology through their course of treatment and possible rehab. It's currently free for the first 500 people that have registered and is eligible for 1.25 hours of continuing education credits for their recertification. Our hope is to have more trainings available in the future, and just so you know, we have, like I said, it's free for the first 500 registrants. We have about 60 registered so far, so there's plenty of space left when it comes to those trainings. And we're hoping to provide more in the future on different topics. So if you guys have any ideas of topics, please feel free to let me know as well. Our last resource that we have in this presentation today, we have a few more available, but our last one is the Every Second Counts Toolkit for EMS, which is available on the MDH Stroke website under the Emergency Medical Services for Stroke tab. It's a great tool for both hospital and EMS. It gives examples of stroke protocols, dispatch guidelines, QI tools, and community outreach ideas. It's free for everyone. It's free for you guys. It's free for EMS agencies. It's easy to get. All you have to do is go to this website here, or you can search stroke and MDH Stroke EMS Toolkit, and it should come up for you as well. You just submit a request for it online, and then I send you an email back with all the with the link, or with the PDF file, excuse me. We also have another toolkit that's not on this slide. It's a toolkit for public awareness, thank you, that some of the EMS agencies have been using as well, and I know the hospitals are enjoying it as well, so feel free to search that one out as well. Again, it's a very simple online submission.
Free.
Free, all free. Gotta love free.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions so far? Feel free to unmute yourself. I believe it's *6 to unmute. So if you'd like to ask by phone, otherwise feel free to send it in a chat.
While we're waiting for questions, do you want to talk a little bit more about the Stimulation Mannequin project?
Sure.
Like what they're learning and...
So we'll go back to the simulation here. So they're learning, they initially learned about the basic operations of the mannequin, which is, as those have participated in the simulation, it's a complicated process to learn. But they're learning about the actual operation of the mannequin. They're also learning about how to integrate the simulation mannequin into their program, how to be hands-off, how to actually stand away and actually allow the participants to be involved and participate with the mannequin, and how to overcome challenges that a plastic person can't do, like they can't actively talk to you, although this mannequin does have the option of a speaker that they can talk through. that projects out the mannequin's mouth. So they learn how to do that. They also learn how to do some moulage, how to do some debriefing, which is actually the most important aspect of running a simulation is debriefing. They learn both the debriefing, the educator side and the participant side, so they're able to interact and promote some more questions from the participants. And so it's all in all, it's a really detailed training program. They're actually partnering with, each region will have a partner at a local education simulation facility, usually it's at a college right now, to serve as a liaison. So if they need any assistance during their training program, they can call them. That way, if Health Partners is not available, the educational resources available. It's a pretty in-depth program. It's offered to them free of charge. There is no charge for them to do it.
So as you've been in the trainings, because you've gone to a lot of the trainings.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel like this is helping EMS prepare for for a stroke? How do you feel like the trainings will help them?
Our goal is to help them minimize their time, do a quick assessment, minimize their time, and also go through the logistics of getting a patient out of a house, or out of a location. So our goal with this mannequin, because it is wireless, that's the other thing I failed to mention, it's a wireless mannequin. It's got a little iPad type device, so they can be within 50 to 100 feet of this mannequin. So they can put it in situations that EMS has faced. They can put it in a dark back corner of a house and getting the patient out, which is a thing that they struggle with, or that can happen with getting a patient out in that timely fashion, because our goal is to keep stroke care on scene to under 15 minutes.
Right.
So the more that they can simulate a stroke and the faster that they can pre-plan on getting that patient out and getting treatments done, the better off for a stroke patient in particular.
Great. We had one question in the chat. So if somebody wanted to get in contact with their region to maybe get the sim training or connect with the sim training,
absolutely, yeah.
How would they do that?
So they can contact me, and I can give them the name of their regional manager. That's probably going to be the easiest. And it's their regional EMS manager. It's the EMS regions. It's different than the trauma regions. If they're used to the trauma regions, they're different. But I'm happy to provide you guys. Feel free to send me an email. My email will be on this last slide that we have. And feel free to send me an email, and I'll get you the name and the number and contact information.
Do you think, is this something that's offered to hospitals too, or is it just EMS?
It's just EMS right now, yeah. The mannequin itself, but we're encouraging them at every single training to partner with their local hospitals and have a working relationship with this mannequin, because we want it to get as much use as possible. So my eventual dream goal is that they will take a patient from the scene, they'll have a scene wherever that may be. They'll transport the patient to the hospital, and in partnership with the hospital, have the hospital run their stroke code up until the point of patient transfer.
Okay.
Obviously, we can't take an ambulance out of service to transport a plastic patient, but all the way to a larger hospital. But our goal is to have it up until that point, so that both sides can figure out what's working well and what needs improvement on both sides. So
that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to make sure you guys know about that.
Are there any questions about the simulation trainings on the phone or in the chat? Not yet.
Oh, hi, this is Michelle. I'm sorry, from the Department of Health. I have a question for you, Catherine.
Sure.
Regarding the TCRI project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think that this is another opportunity for hospitals to engage proactively with their EMS agencies and even ask if they've joined TCRI?
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds like this could be a good opportunity just to kind of get everybody all on the same page. And I know through designation, I work with a lot of our acute stroke ready hospitals, and that's part of the criteria is to engage in that relationship and work with those facilities. those EMS providers on that pre-notification, and that data is really interesting, or the research is really interesting of how much you can even reduce it or to CT with that pre-notification. So, so really excited to hear about that. So to all the hospitals listening, so what's the best way to go about that is the stroke coordinator.
Contact their
local EMS agencies.
Yeah, contact their local EMS agencies, even the couple of if they have multiple that transport to their agencies or to their hospital, contact them, make sure they've joined TCRI, ask them if they're interested, if they've heard of it. Hopefully the mailing got to them or the email got to them, but we all know, stuff happens. So ask them if they've joined TCRI. It's literally one form, and send us your protocols. It's very easy, and we're going to be sending out more information. We'll send out the toolkit electronically to these agencies, so they'll have a whole bunch of resources. And the hopeful goal, like I said, is to help build that eventual feedback loop would be ideal between the hospitals and the EMS agencies, because everybody wants to know what happens to the patient. And if they went along the right treatment course, and if they were thinking, and they activated the stroke team and this was actually a stroke and they did something great, and so that they all want to know. So the more feedback you can give an EMS agency, the better. They're all eager and ready to learn.
Great, thank you. I'm really excited about that project. I know that's one of the key topics we talk about with our 2 stroke-ready hospitals in particular. And I feel like this could maybe take some of the weight off that coordinator of being the key responsible person for connecting with EMS when MDH is willing to kind of partner with that EMS right in their community.
Yeah.
Again, just kind of some of that shared resources and responsibility, all with the same goal of good stroke care. Quick stroke care from the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. I think it's great that the designation and EMS agencies are kind of, those 2 initiatives are kind of coming together in this way, so that we can kind of connect everybody. And you talked about the feedback, giving feedback to EMS, how important that is. Yeah,
and it's not mentioned on this slide, but there's a pilot program going on in 2 of the regions in the state, up in the northwest corner, and actually in the southwest corner we have a feedback initiative. It's actually being run through the Office of Rural Health at this point, but they're working on a mechanism to provide feedback, both from the large hospital PSCs and the CSCs back to the rural hospital and then back to the EMS agency. And so we're figuring out the bumps and the kinks and trying to figure out what would work best. And each region is doing something slightly different, but the mechanism's pretty much the same. And it's actually working out pretty well. It's taking some time on the larger hospital end, which I don't blame them. They have a lot of stroke cases to get back, but we're getting feedback back, and that's awesome. And the agency, they're loving it. So
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a EMS provider, can you talk about why that's so important or why it's so helpful?
Well, it comes from a fact of we drop off. I mean, like I said, I've been in the business 15 years. I can count on probably both hands the number of times I've actually gotten feedback on what happened with a patient. And I want to know if I'm going along the right course of action. Did I diagnose this patient or at least suspect a proper treatment? And did I do the proper treatment? Is there anything that I missed? Should I have done something better? Should I have, done this, did I miss not doing a stroke scale? Should I have done this on this, patient? So we always want to learn, because no patient ever reads the textbook. So they never present like the textbook. So if they did, it'd make our job so much easier. But since they don't, we want to know, did we do the right thing or didn't?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, those darn patients.
I know. When they do read when they actually do present like the textbook, you actually get a little tripped up. You're like, wait a minute, you look like the textbook.
Too easy.
Yeah.
We had a question in the chat. Do you know about any legal privacy issues regarding feedback to EMS?
No, it is not a HIPAA violation, because they were responsible. As long as you're providing it back to the agency that was involved in the patient care, as long as it's used for learning, it's not a HIPAA violation.
That's great. That's great to know. And I'm sure they could also just check in with the hospital legal department.
Absolutely. Yep.
To make sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And
they can talk with the Medical Director Advisory Committee on the EMSRB. They're very excellent and knowledgeable about HIPAA and feedback and that type of thing. So It's under the Emergency Medical Services Regulatory Board. It's called the Medical Director Advisory Committee. If you have any questions about HIPAA and feedback, feel free to contact them.
That's great.
Yeah.
What was the name of that again?
The Medical Director Advisory Committee.
Okay.
On the Emergency Medical Services Regulatory Board.
Okay. I'm just going to type that into the chat.
Absolutely. Yep. It's long and complicated, and I'm trying not to say the acronym.
Great. Any other questions about TCRI or providing feedback back to EMS? On the chat or on the phone, you can hit *6 if you want to unmute your line. Questions right now? Oh, I had a question about this learning course.
Yes.
Do you feel like this would be appropriate for hospital providers to take?
I think so. I think it would be okay. It's, like I said, it is geared more toward EMS providers, but it does follow a patient all the way through, and it does cover the anatomy and physiology. It's information that's helpful for anybody, especially if they need a good refresher on stroke. But it is geared on more of a it's not super technical. It's just a general overview.
Okay.
So, but it's a very good course. It takes, like I said, about an hour and a half or so, depending on how much you go through it, or how detailed you go through it, I should say. But it's a great course, and it could potentially, if you submit it to the nursing board, it might be considered for education credits. I can't guarantee it.
Okay. Right, because it's a different body.
Yeah.
Starring our one and only EMS coordinator, Catherine Johnson.
Yeah.
The voice.
Yeah, that is my voice, yes. That was quite an effort. I give a lot of credit to those that do that. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Stumble over your words a lot more than you'd expect to, just recording it.
Any questions?
Hi, Catherine, Claire. I have a question. This is Stan.
Hey, Stan.
Or sort of a comment. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. When I give, or one of the roadblocks that I run into, especially giving EMS feedback, is run reports. And it's huge because it's hard to close a loop on things or get all the information that's pertinent for EMS unless they drop off a run report or you have some mechanism for doing that. And of course, up here we've got, 20 plus or 32 different EMS agencies that deliver patients to our facility. So sometimes even trying to figure out who that was, dropping those patients off can be tough enough. So I would just encourage when we're or in the education piece for EMS or any interaction that MDH has with them is to really emphasize the need to give accurate and timely run reports to the hospital.
Agreed. Yes, we're going to be working on that, I think, with TCRI as well. And I hope to actually create a webinar series somewhere down the line here about the importance of data and providing the information back to you guys as far as run reports go. If anybody's got any other ideas that have worked in their area, please let me know. I would love to hear about them, and maybe we can help implement them if they're applicable statewide. Anybody else?
We got a comment in the chat just noting that streamlining run reports is also a concern in TRF, and reports are on a separate electronic record. I'm not sure what TRF is. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
In their facility. So the reports are also on an electronic record, a separate electronic record. So that would definitely be a barrier for sure.
Oh yeah, it is, and that's part of the issue is that it doesn't, for the agency, for the hospitals that they have electronic record, it's hard because not all the little to none of the EMS electronic records actually merge with hospital records. So we're still working on that. I know there's some that Hospital Hub is being created, and that's been helpful. But the more that we can get that, the more that we can make that easier, the better. And like I said, I'm happy to hear about any ideas that you guys have had that works in your area, whether it's a drop box that's easy. I know some agencies have printers in their ambulances. That's easier said than done sometimes. But yeah, I'm open to anything. Because I know that I've heard that many times, and I don't blame you guys one bit. That's hard to do.
So that sounds like something that TCRI might be like a great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or connecting with EMS agencies on that.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Any other questions at this point? I just had one comment about the toolkit.
Yes.
So I think a lot of, when we were at the workshop and the conference, I think a lot of hospitals picked up the toolkit to look at themselves or to give their EMS agencies.
Yeah.
Is that something you recommend hospitals do? Like,
oh, sure.
Print off and give their EMS agencies?
Absolutely, yeah. They can print it off and they can look at it together if they have a joint meeting and say, is there any tools in here that we could use in our agencies that would work well? Like I said, there's some great QI tools. There's also some great community outreach ideas. Some great updated protocols in there. Something that should, you know, especially if you're a hospital-based agency, or you have a hospital-based agency, I should say, to look at them together and see how we can work together with them. Otherwise, yeah, absolutely. Feel free to print them out and say, hey, you know, I just found this, you know, I got this resource on our webinar today. Feel free to take a look at it. And feel free to give them my contact information if they don't already have it. It's been my point to try and get out as much as possible. So if they have any questions or you guys have any questions, you can see my information up here on the screen. Feel free to email me. Feel free to call me. I take questions from everybody. I'm happy to answer anything when it comes to EMS agencies. I may not be able to answer it, but I can definitely point you in the right direction when it comes to that type of thing. And then we have a survey that's going to go out after this webinar. Been talking too much. So please fill it out. We'd love to know what you guys thought of it. We'd love to know what other resources you guys are looking for when it comes to EMS as well. Or feel free to just email me with any ideas of potential resources you may want or are looking for. We'd be happy to see what we can do about it. And I appreciate you guys joining us today, and hope you guys were able to pick up some good ideas for your agencies or interacting with your agencies.
Yeah. I'll just say I'll put in a plug for our hospital inventory survey.
Oh, yeah.
We have a survey that's going to be sent out to all the hospitals in Minnesota, and it helps us a lot with our programming, figuring out what resources are needed or where hospitals are at with certain issues, like what are people doing for public awareness and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's also really crucial to our reporting back to the CDC, which is our funding body.
Yes.
So it really helps us out a lot for you guys to fill out the survey, so just put in a plug for that.
And real quick plug for public awareness.
Yes.
Don't forget to involve your EMS agencies as well. They are super eager and want to do public awareness because they're out in the public all the time as well. And so they love to put on, for the most part, most agencies love to do public awareness type things. So don't forget to get them involved as well.
Yeah, and so if you head to our public awareness website, then we have a public awareness toolkit that I'm sure EMS, and you can partner with your EMS to do some of those activities.
Wonderful. Well, we'll let you guys get back to your day. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Yep, and send us an email if you have any further questions.
Yes, and fill out the survey when you get it, please.
Survey.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.